Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Sorry I haven't posted anything new in a while. That's life, y'all know how it goes. So today, I'm working on the Block 2. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera. I'm a huge stickler for having a tight, snug upper to lower. You might be able to hear it, but this upper and lower has a little bit of a lateral play between the front receiver takedown pin. This one did not originally have the AccuWedge style screw that goes up through here that engages the rear takedown lug on the upper. However, I drilled and tapped a screw in this in order for it to take one, and that's helped a lot take a lot of the receiver slop out. However, this still has some left to right play. Now, you can leave this as is on 99% of rifles. It's not going to cause anything severe. It might lead to quickened parts erosion, especially in terms of the buffer tube and the way that the bolt carrier group goes from the buffer into the tube. Anytime you can reduce unnecessary movement between components, that's always going to improve the longevity of them 99% of the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of soda can that has been cut, that will be trimmed. This is my blank piece. And essentially what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be gluing it inside the space between the lower rungs and the notch on the upper that the front takedown pin goes through. So that'll be acting as a shim to reduce that left to right play. So give me a second, I will cut to whenever I have the shim cut to the rough dimensions, and I'll go on for the next step. Okay, so as you can see here, I have that shim held in place by the front takedown pin, and this is going to help because the takedown pin is going to leave an indentation on the aluminum of where I need to cut in order for that pin to pass through. And then I'll take a black Sharpie and follow this round and then cut it all out. And then typically what I'll do is I'll take a X-Acto knife and punch a hole through the aluminum there, and then use this cutting attachment on the Dremel to go on the inside of the hole to clean it up. So stand by, I will show you what that looks like. Okay, now that I have this piece cut to shape, I just did a little crosshatch with a razor blade in there. And what I mean is that right here, this piece is going to sit right inside here and act as a wedge between the upper lug and the lower receiver. So now, I'm going to take this cutting bit on the Dremel, I'm going to waller out this hole so that the pin can pass through freely. Stand by, and I will get that done really quick. Sorry, typically I would do this all on camera, but I'm one person and I don't have a spare pair of hands, so doing this while trying to cut all this and do all this is kind of a pain in the ass. So I'm just trying to do it step by step and give you guys as descriptive as possible explanation as to what I'm doing. Okay, so now that that hole has been cut out, I can drop this in there, get it lined up relatively. It came loose. And now that that pin can pass through, that hole doesn't need to be perfect, it doesn't need to be, it can be egged out or whatever. Not that big of a deal. You just need to make sure that the pin can pass through freely so you don't get any binding. Now what I will do is I will throw the upper on just to kind of squish this material down and make sure that it seats properly. That way it has kind of a memory of what it wants to do whenever I go to glue it in place. Now as you can see, I got that shim bedded in there. The only reason I do this is that whenever I go to glue it, I wanted to have some sort of memory. Thin aluminum, it's kind of a pain in the ass to work with. Unfortunately, my shim split at the top, so I had to weasel it in there But it did take out any left or right lateral play on the upper. So now my upper is nice and secure, no wobble. The rear set screw is only going to do so much. And now this is something that I've learned that isn't necessarily a brand issue of high quality or low quality or anything like that. This usually comes from tolerance stacking. If you use XYZ upper with ABC lower and vice versa, not always are these lugs going to be 99% the same tolerance-wise, so you might get a little bit of play. Like I said, this isn't a huge deal on a lot of guns. I just have crippling OCD, and I want my shit to be as secure as possible. So I'm going to take the upper off, glue this shim in, and then I will be right back. Okay, now the shim is glued into place. Time to throw the upper on, let the glue finish drying. I like to use the gel over the thin watery shit. Typically it gives me a little bit more time to work. It doesn't cure as hard. I mean, not as hard, but as fast. So it allows me to get my placement a little bit more correctly. So let me throw the upper on and we will be right back. Alright folks, the shim is finally installed. It is glued into place. That glue will cure nicely. I did this on my other rifle, and one thing that I actually really didn't think about, but now that it's been done, I greatly enjoy it. Whenever I would pop my rear takedown pin, the upper would kind of just loosely flop forward. There wouldn't be really any retention. Now it can still move freely, but it does it so with just the slightest bit of resistance, so where my upper just doesn't completely flop forward. And I'm assuming the same thing will happen to this after it's done drying. I don't want to open it and close it too much right now for fear of crinkling that aluminum. But once that glue hardens and sets, it should be good to go. Thank you for watching. Hope this helps. Stay tuned.